In music, interpolation happens on every single song.
Tell me what interpolation means.
Good artists borrow, great artists steal.
It's levels to this. I want to talk about a word I think people are misusing, interpolation, and what it means for the music business in general. Okay, and the reason I'm bringing this up is saw Rick Beato talking about this viral video, which demonstrates like 6 or 8 classic songs that have been remade with the exact same melody. And the original writers are not getting credit on these pieces of music. And the people that are putting them out now say, well, it's an interpolation. You've heard this word, right? You've heard this floating around. Yeah. Tell me what interpolation means.
We know what sampling is. Sampling is taking a recording of a master record, using that inside of your new creation. Samples started becoming so expensive to clear on the master side that people started doing interpolations of that sample where they would replay it. And now it only becomes a publishing issue, and you only have to clear it with the publishing holders. And you don't have to clear it with the master side because you didn't sample the master recording.
So let me break it down for people who don't know. Every recorded song is basically 2 different pieces of intellectual property. There's the recording itself is copyrightable as a creation, but the recording is of a song that may or may not be written by the same people who did the performance, and that underlying creation has its own copyrightable intellectual property, and that's the publishing you're saying, as opposed to just the mechanical rights. Now, I think some people are trying to get away or getting a little fast loose with this interpolation business, say, oh, it's interpolation, I can do what I want. And like, hold the phone, not so fast. It's still someone else's creation. And like, maybe guys are trying to change 1 or 2 notes. And this has been going on for a while.
I'm guilty of it.
Well, everybody
I'm guilty of it. Okay, I will say there's 2 streets. One, consciously knowing that you're changing notes of something, and then unconsciously knowing, because it's only 12 notes. You're going to run into these same melodies from time to time, but I have consciously done it and gotten away with it because it's not the main part of the track. But I always pay homage to a lot of the artists that inspired me growing up, and some of their inspirations will find its way into some of my productions. So I have done it.
It's one thing to quote as an homage and recontextualize it. That's always been the basis of jazz. They call them rhythm changes. Basically, a whole universe of music written to the chord changes if I got rhythm. But it's almost like a subgenre of jazz in and of itself. It's like a building block or a 12-bar blues.
Yeah.
These didn't come from nowhere, but someone had to do it first.
Yeah.
That person is lost to, the ages or something, but like the building blocks of music we stand on the shoulders of people that came before us. So it's a little nebulous about, what constitutes a building block of music, like rhythm changes, and what's a verbatim ripoff of someone's creation.
Yep.
But I have seen in the studio, I've had people say, hey, do it like that, but change that 1 chord. You sure you don't want me to change 2 chords?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And then, 1 lawsuit later, someone's got 90% of the record that wasn't in the studio that day.
That's right. That's right.
Definitely seen that happen.
It's happened to me where, I guess my fee was too expensive for what they wanted to pay. So they had somebody recreate my work. And then I'm hearing the recreation and I don't care how you remade it and switched the note or two. I still hear what I created.
Right.
It's still there. The idea came from me. And I still hear my idea. They wrote the song to my idea. So it's still in the same key. The melodies didn't change. You might have changed a couple of notes here or there, but the note is just inverted.
Right.
It ain't even a different note. It's the same note, but it's an inversion of a chord or a note. So I still hear my record. It's still there.
And the classic example, MC Hammer and Rick James, right?
It's a big one.
Well, it is a big one, and my understanding is Rick James was pretty hot about it because MC Hammer basically just wrote a whole nother song on top of his song, but until he figured out he was going to make a lot more money off.
Yeah, he didn't like it at first.
Didn't like it.
He didn't like rappers. Period.
Right.
He didn't like rappers at all. He just thought they were no talented and just ripping off everybody until he got that first "Can't Touch This" check, and he was like, hey, you know what? I changed my mind about those rapper dudes. They're cool.
Well, you park that Rolls Royce over there. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm liking these guys now. Yeah.
He made more money off of the MC Hammer version than his own version.
But I will say this, and it was super controversial in the day. I remember having an opinion about this too. But it was always clear it was a Rick James song. Mm-hmm. And MC Hammer had put his own thing on top of it. So it was clearly two different things. It was clearly based on Super Freak and was based on, but it was a whole other song. It was a whole other thing.
New creation.
And it certainly paid homage to the original creation and literally paid royalties to the original creator. So that's sort of in a different category to me than just a straight up interpolation. Yeah. I mean, the way it's being used nowadays. Like,
a sample can only be a ripoff if you didn't clear it.
If you got express permission from rights holders.
Right, exactly. Yeah. If you got express permission, that's
from
something
the author
different.
Or the company that they sold their rights to or whatever to administer. That's a different thing than just kind of bootlegging something you heard. And
right. That's where it gets into murky waters, because as musicians, we're good enough to take somebody else's creation, change it up enough to where we're out of the water of lawsuit, because it doesn't sound exactly like what the original creation was. We can get away with that. We know how to change it just enough, but the creators of it can hear that and be like, I don't care what you say. I hear my creation in that.
So here's the thing. And like, I would have agreed with you until about 10 years ago or whenever this was with the Blurred Lines decision.
Blurred Lines. Yep.
Okay. Literally Blurred Lines. But here's the thing. Like, if you put those two songs together, it's different notes. It's different melodies. Yeah. It's different structures, but they've got two similar production vibes. They've got the thing with the feel of it.
The feel of it is the same.
It's some guy going, woo.
Hey, look.
Woo. And that was enough to get a jury to say, no, that's the same song. I'm like, really? Because it clearly isn't to me.
But, okay, you brought up a great example, because when I first heard Blurred Lines, the first thing I said was Marvin Gaye. The first thing I said was Marvin Gaye, because the Marvin Gaye song is so unique. It's the only song that, I mean, that's my mom's era. So growing up, I heard that song because it was such a classic. All my uncles used to still play that record. My mom used to still play that record. Family cookouts and stuff like that, that song would come on. It's the only record I ever heard that sounded like that. So when when Blurred Lines came on, the only record that I can associate that sound to is Give It Up and Turn It Loose by Marvin Gaye. And immediately it took me there. It's like, it's Marvin Gaye. So
There's
I wasn't
something
shocked.
about it, but it's not the notes.
But it's not. But it's not the notes.
It's not the chords even. It's like
he captured
something-
that feel. He captured
the guy,
that feel.
guy banging
in
on
captions.
the bottle, on the bottle, or
bottles.
shaking a sugar packet in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, hold, you're gonna copyright a sugar packet.
Now, even the bass lines aren't similar note wise, but they're similar sound wise. Like and the feel of it. Boom. Okay, the Marvin Gaye version. Boom, 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 boom. And the Blurred Lines version, boom, still got that one note, boom, boom, boom. It's not the same, but sonically they sound very similar.
You know, I get it, but like my whole career, I've always been like had people very sure of themselves saying, "Oh, what you can do is you can take like up to 7 notes of a melody and it'll be fine." You know, and I'm like, this guy shook a sugar packet, and the song got, you know, it's clearly the song, right? Like there's something beyond notes. There's something that, and it was hard to articulate. I think, you know, like you just knew it.
You just knew it. Now, that's a great example because that's the, you know, I think Gilbert O'Sullivan started the whole sample issue, and it went to Supreme Court and all that with his song Alone Again or something, and Bismarcky with that record. That started the sample thing where we had to
define terms about what constitutes
exactly
illegal use of a sample,
exactly,
and the creator gets their cut, that kind of thing.
And I think the Blurred Lines situation kicked that can down the road to where now we're dealing with, I mean, note-wise, this song ain't playing the same notes. I don't even think it's in the same key, but you captured the feel of that Marvin Gaye song.
You got 12 people on a jury to say, yeah, I don't know, that's the same song to me.
Hey,
I don't know about this music stuff, but that sounds like the same song to me.
And see, that's the thing. That's the other thing right there. You and I as creatives can hear that it's not the same song. I can say I hear the feel of it. I see what Pharrell was trying to. He was trying to capture that feel.
Clearly, there's no bones about it.
He was trying to capture that feel.
It was a sound-alike, but people be doing sound-alikes with way more precision all the time.
Yeah, I
it's
think,
not a problem.
Right. I think when it comes to the logistics of this stuff, whereas you and I understand what was going on in that, but it's not the same record versus a non-creative in a position of judgment can make can make a judgment on this song. To them, it sounds like the same song. They don't understand chord structure, chord progression. They don't understand. They don't even understand notes. They don't know what a G note is, or A note, F note,
right,
F sharp. To them, it's all the same. But when they hear it, and some of these guys are also tone deaf.
I just had jury duty the other day. Some of them don't know how to park either. I mean, this much room to get in my car, but don't get me started.
So you got these guys.
This guy's going to judge someone else's fate,
right?
You know?
He's going to judge. He's going to judge this. So you get those situations, and these people listening to the records, what they're capturing is the feel of it. Okay, but the feel of it doesn't dictate the sound of it. It don't sound the same. It might feel the same, but it ain't the same record. But you know, when you got somebody making a judgment on that, it's like, I rule in favor of the Gaye family. That's the same record. It's like, God, it's not.
I mean, maybe it's just the circumstances when the original creator, it's like an estate suing on behalf of the original creator. Maybe the original creator would be like, I don't know, if it was circumstances were different, might be like, yeah, it's cool, whatever. It's a sugar packet.
He's
you know,
paying
whatever.
homage to me. because Prince did that with Alicia Keys, and he let her run with it. He knew it was Purple Rain. I mean, you can hear it. I mean, even at the end of the song, dun 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 dun, where Prince is dun 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 dun. But when I heard that, I said Purple Rain. Prince heard that and said Purple Rain, but he loved Alicia Keys so much, he just took that, and she's such a big Prince fan, that's homage.
Yeah, plus she didn't call it like, Violet Hale or anything.
Right,
wasn't like really trying to bite it. It was just a little corner of that particular
Yeah.
song had an echo
And
of it.
even at the end of that song, her bell keys are going do 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 do. Same way the bell keys at the end of Purple Rain do. Same thing. And all of that, I said, man, I didn't call it a ripoff, but I was like, man, she really got in that Purple Rain bag, and I ain't mad at it. But anybody who knows how, because Prince threatened me and Shawty Red before, so I know how Prince can get. And this was a direct sample of The Beautiful Ones, and Prince was like, if y'all put that record out, I'm suing the producers, I'm suing the artists, I'm suing the managers, I'm suing the labels, I'm suing everybody. So, needless to say, we didn't use that record. But I was sitting back wondering, like, I wonder what Prince is gonna do on this. But Prince just said, I love Alicia Keys. And I mean, because Prince he did it himself, where a lot of his music felt like James Brown, Jimi Hendrix, and the Beatles.
There's no denying
none.
those influences.
None.
So, like,
None.
I mean, if you took a microscope and looked for a 2-bar section in a song that reminded you of each one of those people, could they cause a lawsuit? Probably, maybe, if they got really convincing lawyers and were really motivated to make this happen.
Also, Shuggie Otis, that was a big influence. Yeah, he took got a lot of inspiration from Shuggie too, especially with that playing every instrument in the studio. That was Shuggie's thing. Like, I didn't need a band. I'm going to play everything.
It comes down to what you can convince somebody of.
Yeah.
And that's just really it. There's no like hard and fast rules about what constitutes an homage versus a ripoff. Blurred Lines always seem like an injustice to me. I'm like, it's clearly the same feel, but it's also clearly a different song.
Yeah, right. Right.
And like Eddie Van Halen, we were talking about Eddie Van Halen doing the solo on Beat It. And his guitar trademark is using his right hand instead of a pick, taking a finger and tapping the fretboard so he can go extra fast, right? Well, a lot of people started doing that after him. Should he have sued Steve Vai and Joe Satriani for mimicking that key component of his style?
He should have trademarked it.
Well, but
he ain't thinking like that.
Before Eddie Van Halen, there's probably some guy, I think you're right, that did it once or twice, and he took it to another level with the solo eruption, and that was his trademark.
Right. Or like a lot of musicians, it was somebody that he grew up admiring that was just super dope, that never made it big, but had so many. He took a lot of things from that person. It's like, hey man, every time I do it, I'm paying homage to that guy, which we might not know about, but creativity comes from a lot of.
Yeah, and it's sort of
you pick
like
up things from everywhere.
How litigious you want to be about it, I guess, like I said, like estates with lawyers, they're in business to do that, right? Yeah. My whole take on lawsuits, and I've been in a couple. Like, even when you win, you lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only people that really win a lawsuit are the lawyers. Because by the time they get done with their fees and the hours, even the person that thinks they won, how much of that money they're actually going to see?
Absolutely.
With a few exceptions, but mostly, lawsuits are just, they eat up people from the inside out. They take forever. And even when you win, you lose. Yep. And that's kind of where I've come with that. So, but that said, some lawyers got time. And people that get loose with this interpolation business might find out the hard way that not everyone sees it as a ladder of creativity, as opposed to, that was my idea and you just turned one little thing and try to sell it as your idea. And that ain't right. And there's something to that too, you know. Sometimes it's like, that was a really cool idea I had. I should have got paid for that. That's just justice, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's somewhere in that homage. I'm reinterpreting it. I'm giving it new life by taking it and moving it forward. I think that's the distinction. You know, if you're not moving it forward or changing it up somehow with a left turn, that's where I kind of draw the line with a ripoff to creativity.
And here's the thing to that right there. Good artists borrow, great artists steal.
That's true.
And
what do you mean by that, though?
Quincy Jones exposed where the creative idea for the bass line in Billie Jean came from. So a Donna Summer song, Independence. And if anybody recalls that song, the bass line in that song goes Michael Jackson was a part of that session, as was Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, and Quincy Jones' circle of creative friends that helped always make his records so good. Now, Donna, from what I understand, couldn't stand that record, and it didn't really do well commercially like that for Donna Summer. But Michael heard the genius in that bass line, boom, 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 boom. So he takes that and slows it down, boom, 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 and the Donna Summer song came from some European guys, and basically it was just a remake of that record. But if what Quincy is saying is true, and the inspiration for Billie Jean came from that, because Michael didn't credit none of them for Billie Jean whatsoever. But if you listen to those songs, boom, 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 boom. To me, same bass line minus the one note on the Donna song is down, octave lower, and they bring it up. Michael brings it up an octave. Boom, 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 boom. But in the Billie Jean song, it's doing both at the same time. So it is going boom, 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 boom. Because there is a bottom note that just goes boom, 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 boom. So in one instance, it is going boom, 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 boom. But then there's a bass line and a synth bass line. So the synth bass line is going boom, 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 boom. And the bass line is going boom, 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 boom. So it's hard to say, man.
Well, but yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, can you or should you be able to copyright a type of part versus a specific sequence of notes? That's the real question, right?
To me, I think it should come down to the artist, and if they feel like that is their intellectual property, I created that riff right there, done in that styling. Yeah, give me that. I need that. Run me. I think in that instance, us as creatives, because I've tried it a couple of times. I had a Camouflage record that Nardo Wick, to me, it's the exact same bass line. It's the exact same bass line. And I tried it, and they fought me against it. And, but, I mean, to me, it was the same bass line. Same bass line. But it goes back to what I said earlier. Do I think the producers of that record did it consciously or subconsciously? I think it may have been subconsciously. you also got to be wary of, if as a creative, of hearing something, going in a session and hearing something, because subconsciously we might go, we're not thinking about what we heard,
Right.
but subconsciously it's in our brain, and we can't get this melody. I'm not thinking about that song I just heard or the track that was being created.
Some of it is just how influence works.
Yeah.
You know, you hear something, you're like, I should do something like that on some level, you know? It doesn't always come out like completely digested,
Yeah.
or you take a thing that you heard and you put it against a different kind of beat, and then maybe you got something. That's at least recontextualizing it, you know?
Great point, because Wasted is my digging into the Verve Bittersweet Symphony.
Which in and of itself is a sample to begin with.
Yeah. So I think it was the Green Bay and Denver Super Bowl. Denver beat Green Bay, and after the game was over, all the credits are coming up for the Super Bowl production and all that, all the highlights of the year and all that. That was the song that was playing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember that was kind of hot. Like
yeah. Oh
a few
man,
years ago, whatever.
It was hot.
Yeah.
And I felt something. I in my young mind, to me, it was like, that's what winning a championship feels like. Bittersweet. The name of the song is Bittersweet Symphony. So
Right.
Somebody's getting the sweet part of it.
Someone's getting bitter.
Somebody else is getting the bitter part of it. So, thrust years forward, Gucci just walked into the studio with the idea of, Fat, what you think about a song called Wasted? And now I'm thinking, Wasted. Oh man, I mean, if we do that right, because growing up, wasted was always a white suburban word. You only heard that word in white. So, we're going to get wasted, dude.
Right.
In the hood, it was, we're going to get effed up. That, and it didn't stray from that. Faded came around. Yeah, we getting faded, but that was more of a West Coast thing. In the South, we didn't say faded. We just said, man, we getting up.
Right.
So my thinking was, man, we getting wasted. Like, I needed to make this sound celebratory, like we just won the championship. Now I'm going back to that Super Bowl, and it's like, that's what winning the championship feels like to me.
Because you heard that music during the broadcast.
So in my mind, I mean, I went straight to the keys. I didn't play around. I didn't find anything. I went straight to that sound. But that's what winning the championship sounded like in my mind. So there's no way the Verve could come after me for that, because it sounds absolutely nothing like that. But the inspiration of my interpretation of what a championship sounds like after the game through a television production, that's what winning the championship sounded like.
And the original sample, I think it's like a Rolling Stones song from
Really?
Yeah.
So that I never knew that was, it always sounded like a sample to me, but I thought that was part of the creative process of it to make it sound like a sample, but it actually is a sample.
It's levels to this interpolation stuff in the sampling business.
That's crazy.
It's levels to this, man.
Wow. Oh man, I never knew, but I just know, man, to this day, that's just one of my, whenever, to this day, whenever I hear that, I'm listening to it.
So that's the thing, though. It's like, maybe those notes are someone else's idea, but what they meant to you being filtered through the Verve, through the Super Bowl broadcast, to Gucci coming to you saying, I got to make this Wasted song, and pulling that all together from those influences, that seems like a new idea to me, but it's based on the vocabulary of the original composers.
Right.
Like, like how much of that original idea do you owe the guy that came up with the 3 notes?
Man.
I guess the lawyers will figure that out. But,
Yeah. It's weird how that works, how it flows like a river, man. I'm not in that moment. I'm not even thinking about the Verve song, but subconsciously in my mind, this is what winning the championship sounds like to me. So I just know it had to be strings.
Right. It had to sound big.
It had to sound,
and that to you associate with 100,000 people in a football stadium and millions of people watching on TV.
That's it.
The whole thing.
That's my association with. In my mind, I attributed that for us to do this record right. It had to sound like we won the championship.
And some Super Bowl producer had the idea to use that song.
Right. Exactly.
And marry it up to the emotions of the Super Bowl.
Right. And maybe they're looking, because I think the Verve captured, for what they did, they captured the essence of Bittersweet. Because the song, depending on how you're feeling at the time, you can feel happy or you can feel sad, because that string line has all that emotion in it.
So I think we're coming into something, and this goes back to the Marvin Gaye thing. Like, the context of how many times you've heard the song and what you're feeling when you hear that song and the environment you're hearing in, that starts to define the song. You know, you're like, hey, I always played the Marvin Gaye song at the family gatherings and the cookouts, blah, blah. We know that song because it feels like this.
Feels like cookout.
Right. And when,
family reunion.
Robin and Pharrell did something with her, like, well, hold on. This means something to us, because the way we experienced it in life. It's not even about the notes. It's like you clearly tapped into that, the way that got put together, and people said, well, hold on. I think that's, you're biting that idea. And like, as opposed to flipping it somewhere new.
And coincidentally, the Blurred Lines song is at the cookout too. In the hood, the Blurred Lines songs has become that classic to where if you play it at the family reunion, at the cookout.
Well, that's where I'm like, it's clearly
that.
A different song, man. I'm just the lawsuit, man. I just can't get with how that got settled or resolved, but that's just me.
A judge, somebody making the decision, I hear it.
Yeah.
But those 12 people, they don't. And it's probably out of those 12 people, probably only 2 of them have those kind of ears where they can hear that.
And then the other 10 are like, oh, let's just go home already. I don't care. It's fine.
It's not the same song.
And then like people like me, a guitar player, be like, well, this note is clearly an A, and that is clearly an F. And what are you even talking about? And it's like, it's levels to this. It's our whole thing, but it literally is different levels of the DNA of the song. What point do we say it's clearly identifiable as one song versus another? And the bottom line is you can't until you can.
That's it. I mean,
it's one of those paradoxes of life, I guess.
That's it. In the NFL, they say holding happens on every single play, but it's the discretion of the referee to call it. In music, interpolation happens on every single song.
Pretty much.
It's up to the discretion of somebody else to call it. So
I think we're on to something. Who working the refs? So someone's working the refs in the music industry in a big way.
Somebody's working them, man. I feel this way a lot about the current state of music. The creativity in it today is lesser than what it was yesterday. And I'm not saying there's not creative people out there. I'm just saying the creative process of making music today is lazier than what it was back then. And technology has helped that, because everything back then you had to physically do a thing to make it happen.
I'll go one better. Technology has caused that because creators are trying to feed the algorithm.
Yeah.
The hungry algorithm that only wants what it thinks will go viral to the next generation. It wants iterations of the same thing that went viral before it.
That's it.
And
that's it.
It doesn't reward originality.
Yeah.
It penalizes originality.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. And I'm really seeing that the music industry is monkey see, monkey do. Whatever worked in the NFL, you start seeing copycats running that over the next couple of seasons. And the music industry is no different. You know, whatever worked, they start copycatting that. And now it's the algorithm that's doing that. Oh, that has worked. Let's get that same thing.
The next level of that, of course, is this whole AI thing.
Yeah.
And basically AI is a plagiarism machine.
Yeah.
It interpolates all the data that's out there on the internet into something new. And it's a picture of a cat with a laser gun that it averaged out from 1 million pictures of cats and 1 million pictures of laser guns. And now you type in, I want a cat with a laser gun. It generates a picture, but it's the average aggregate of 1 million pieces of artwork that it's basically plagiarized.
Yeah.
You know, and music's starting to happen with that too. It's not to the level where it can fool people yet, I don't think, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where this is all gonna go, but it doesn't feel great that, like, you know, the computers are getting better and better at finding the average and doing it 1 million more times. I think that has something to do about stifling creativity because it's penalizing originality.
Yeah.
Originality is getting buried in a sea of AI copycats.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, going back to the Blurry Lines thing, I think it's a case of there's always going to be a balance between notes and feel identifying a song. That one just felt 100% of the
all the way.
Gaye.
There's no running from that.
Even though the notes were technically different, there was just it felt too much like it, and the average Joe was like, nah, that's it. That's the same thing.
Even now,
it's a right brain thing.
Everything feels the same because Pharrell captured the feel of the bass line of the original record. He captured the feel of the Fender Rhodes in the Blurry Line records.
He was too good at capturing the feel of all these different elements.
He was too good of capturing the feel of all the elements because the bass sounds like the bass. It doesn't sound like the bass line, but the bass sounds
even as he
like
changed
that.
the notes and the structure.
All of that.
He was too good at capturing the feel.
Too good at capturing the feel. Where
guilty is charged.
Yeah. where the human brain can't differentiate. These are the same notes versus, you know. I think it's a shame if you get penalized for capturing the feeling of a great record.
I mean, it's funny because it usually never comes up.
Yeah,
the feel
again. The Alicia Keys song captures the feel of Purple Rain.
The MC Hammer and Super Freak were totally different songs. They didn't feel the same, but they're clearly the same notes, and you know. But something about the Marvin Gaye Blurred Lines, the feeling was so overwhelming. It was greater than the notes being different. And that may be the first time that's really happened in a case like that.
The uniqueness of Give It Up and Turn It Loose by Marvin Gaye is so unique.
You had to give it up and give it away to the lawyers. Hey, let's get off on that note. This one will go all day. Man. It's definitely levels to this.
Yeah. Come too far to turn back now. Think of all the things we've been through.
Hey, just real quick, we need your support. If you like seeing discussions like this, we need you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
It's levels to this.
Thanks for watching.